Today we are joined by IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig, right here in downtown Indianapolis. First of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time to sit down with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love sitting down with students. I was a teacher in the beginning, and I always be a teacher, and so I love the fact that your class took the time to come here and visit us at the IHSAA today.
A lot of people probably don't know exactly what the Commissioner of the IHSAA does. Can you explain what some of your tasks or duties are?
Well, the Indiana High School Athletic Association is a not-for-profit business, and so part of my roles and responsibility, in addition to governing sport, which we all know, is to run a business, run a not-for-profit, and things like, we have to meet payroll for our employees, and we have to work on the lines of insurance for the association, and we work with our member schools, and so everything that comes with running a business, like any community would have, also comes with the Indiana High School Athletic Association. So, my duties are vast, but it's so fun and so enjoyable to be a member of this great association that serves students across the state.
And you talked a little bit about earlier you were a teacher. How did you get to the point that you are at now professionally?
Well, for me, I tried to do a good job of every step, every job that I've ever had, whether it was working in the hay fields or watermelon fields of Posey County, and as I got to become a teacher, and then obviously I became a high school athletic director, and then I became a district administrator, and finished Evansville as chief of staff. And I never had a goal of where I wanted to end up. My goal was always to do the best that I could with the job that I had. And I think that ultimately led to this association, and it's kind of where I ended up. But even 20 years ago, I never thought I'd be here. But it was just an opportunity that presented itself, and they gave me a chance.
And sports obviously are a huge part of your life. You were an athlete growing up. How do the lessons that you learned on the basketball court translate to what you're doing now?
Well, I say often that I do not sit here before you today talking about the Indiana High School Athletic Association if it wasn't for a high school coach. My high school basketball coach, Herb McPherson, allowed me to see things that I wasn't capable of seeing myself. He challenged me to be better than I thought I could be, work harder than I thought I could work, held me accountable for things that matter, and those things allowed me to grow in an education-based athletic system that fostered the path for me to do what I do today. But without those experiences as a high school athlete, I wouldn't be doing what I am today.
In the summertime, when schools are on break and sports aren't necessarily going around, how do your day-to-day activities differ from like right now when sports are in session?
Well, we're pretty involved through the daily process all the way through the month of June, and we've really started planning for next year right now. We have a meeting coming up soon that looks at the annual bylaw changes. We have staff retreat, and we have a board retreat to where we talk about where we need to be next year based upon what we learned this year. And so that's coming right now. And so that really runs through the end of June. And then in July, we try to recharge our batteries just a little bit and get a family vacation in. And then, and before we know it, it'll be the 1st of August, and we're starting the fall sports season again.
And we saw the studio earlier. And I think a lot of people probably know you a little bit from just picking the ping pong balls because that's what they watch on the TV. What's kind of the behind the scenes to that process?
Well, it's preparation, first of all. We have to make sure our sectional alignments are accurate when it comes to drawing those tournaments. We have a phenomenal staff here of people who choose to work here. And, it's getting everything done ahead of time. So when it's time to select the teams and the brackets and where they're going to play, it goes off flawlessly, and it does. The biggest danger point that we have is that I dropped one of the ping pong balls, and so we may have to redraw, but that doesn't happen very often, thankfully.
Has that happened yet?
No, not yet, but it will next time I draw later this week.
In some states, single-class sports like tennis or track are put into a two-class system with big schools and small schools. Has Indiana ever considered going to this system?
We talk about it constantly. We have proposals from Coaches Association, and I understand big and small class and the differences with the number of available student athletes. But on the other side of that, I also look at students. The students at Salem High School want to be a Lilly Scholar, and they compete against a student that goes to Carmel High School to be a Lilly Scholar. The standard of judgment doesn't change just because of the size of school you go to. And so in an education-based athletic system, it's more about the lesson that we teach along the way. But that debate will continue. We're having it right now with tennis. So I'm sure others will come, and we'll continue to talk about that.
And kind of along those same lines, how are those sectionals drawn up? Because geographically, they don't always make the most sense looking at it on a map.
Well, they don't, because it's the number of available schools. Southern Indiana, for an example, is certainly more spread out. There's less schools in the South, and there may be less schools that are your size of school. North Posey High School is a 2A school, and they've got to drive a minimum of an hour and a half to get to the next 2A school. And so those are the things that don't necessarily make sense. But we have committees. We use our school, we use our principals and our athletic directors to come here to the office and help us draw those tournaments up that make the most geographic sense. But we also look at ease of travel. It's a lot easier to drive up and down the interstate than it is across the country road to get somewhere. And so those are the kinds of things that come into consideration as our committees look at sectional realignments.
And kind of the big topic right now is going to be the new transfer rule. A lot of people, some people are high on it, some people really oppose the rule. In your eyes, how do you think that will change the landscape of high school sports, especially for the rural schools like Salem?
Well, I think it's important for us to be able to continue to look at this year that's coming up, and we'll watch the data really close, and we'll see where the focus of transfers are. We suspect they're going to be in larger metropolitan areas. And does it affect a school that's in Salem's class? If they can draw from a lot larger population of students, does it affect the balance and the tournament success? Now you got to realize that sectionals are still regional. And so could it change state championships? It could. And so we're going to watch those things. It was really important for us to stay in control of the rule when we made those changes so we could see trends. And if we need to adjust things in the future, we certainly will have the ability to do that.
And is there any concern for super teams forming more around the metro area? For example, like Indianapolis, maybe the top 7 or 8 players all deciding they're going to go to the same school just with the pure goal of winning a state championship.
Absolutely, that's a concern, and we'll watch that, and that's why it was important for us to stay in control of the rule and be able to adjust if we see those trends happening. We're also concerned about students that are forced to transfer because they get displaced from a high school team, lose their spot, so to speak, but still want to play. And that's going to be that story is going to be told as we get through this next year. It's easy to speculate at this particular time, and I do that also, but we've got to get through it at least 1 or 2 years, and then we'll see what's really happening out there.
Absolutely. And what is your biggest piece of advice that you would give to high school students right now? Maybe not only student athletes, but just students in general, if they're kind of unsure about what they see themselves doing in the future.
Well, as I said earlier, do what's in front of you to the best of your ability, and don't worry about the next. And some people call it the next, but don't worry about that. Really be focused on what's in front of you, treating people right, treating the organization like it's bigger than yourself, because we all choose to walk in the door. We don't have to walk in the door when it comes to the opportunity to work somewhere or go to school or whatever. And so we have to treat that as a privilege. And I think that's what I would tell any student. Do your very best and work as hard as you absolutely can, because I think that leads to great things in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. This has been Nick Ingram with the Salem Lions News Network.